What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Spotlight 39 Live. That's right, I'm Rob Odie. That's my co-host. You know him from Max Preps. Get your popcorn ready, Mr. Zack Poff. What's going on, my man? How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Hey, I'll tell you what, last week, high school football action, I don't know if we're going to get a better week all season. All the games lived up to the hype. And, man, you were there live down in South Florida. All those games were big time.
Yeah, man. So before we get into all that, let's do a couple of things. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Support the brand that supports you. Help these student athletes live out their dream. The more we talk about them, the more exposure they get, the more coaches can potentially see and recognize these young men. You're going to talk to some kids that you might know because they're national recruits, but then we're going to have some kids on here that you probably don't know, and that's the ones that could really benefit from this. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and support them and follow them once they come on the show. And then we got to give a big thanks to our sponsors, I Empower Energy, as well as the Great White Apparel, premium apparel. Make sure you check out the website, greatwhite.shop. Thank you for everything that you guys do in supporting the tour this year, as well as the foundation as to why everything is even in existence. 39 Hearts, the absolute biggest reason why we do this thing. Every strong athlete needs a strong heart. Check out the website, spotlight39.com. Click on the 39 Hearts tab. Now let's get into some football, man. We've been got all the housekeeping stuff out the way. So let's get into the recap. Let's not start in South Florida just yet. Let's start out west. Let's start somewhere closer to you with a big time matchup. Let's talk about this modern day game. How did I mean, you predicted it. You said that modern day was going to come out, Centennial would look good, but they just wouldn't be able to keep up with modern day and the weapons that they got. We've got a 42-25 final score. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured it would go that way. I would have been shocked if we saw Longstreet would have played. He didn't. He did not play that game, obviously. So that's why you see kind of the lopsided score. But modern day, first game there were some penalties, and not the best start to the game, but the defense balled out. And Dash Byerly, I was impressed with him at quarterback. He's a new quarterback at modern day, replacing Elijah Brown, who's now at Stanford. He had a very a pretty good game. He did everything he needed to. Jordan Davison, Oregon commit, had over 100 yards rushing, set the tone with a 44-yard touchdown early in the first quarter. And, modern day showed why they begin the year at number one. This is just a team that's well balanced, a very good offense, a great defense, and they play both sides of the field very, very tough. And I expect this team to get better and better as the season goes on. They're idle this week, and then we're going to get a number one versus number two matchup on September 6th down in Santa Ana when they host the Bishop Gorman Gales, who pulled out that win against St. Thomas Aquinas. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to finally be on the ground for that one. I can't wait.
Lucky you, lucky you. So I got Gorman, on the East Coast. You're going to get modern day versus Gorman on the West Coast. I'm slightly jealous, but I'm definitely going to be tapped in. That's going to be a banger. Absolutely, no questions asked. So you talked about Gorman, right? So we'll get to them in just a minute, but I think another game that definitely deserves, a conversation is Milton American Heritage, ESPN, South Florida, storms earlier in the day, and then it was game time. I mean, I'll give you my take in a minute. I want to see what you saw watching it on television.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's most impressive for me is Milton. It's crazy that they've done this, but they've played five consecutive ranked opponents going back to last year, and they've won all five of those games. I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of high school football where a program has played five consecutive ranked opponents and won all five of those games. So impressive start for Milton this year. And TJ Lester, this dude's been eating against big time schools so far this year. He went for like a buck 40 on the ground last week. Had another stellar performance. Yeah, 142 yards and two touchdowns. Ethan Barbour, this was a guy who was unguardable, and he had big time plays. He made the biggest play of the game with that 70-plus touchdown to really ice the game for Milton. American Heritage played well. Diabell had a good game. Malachi Tony showed why he's one of the best receivers in 2026. And Byron Lewis showed why he's one of the top senior running backs. He had a monster performance. But another impressive win for Milton. And it's always big for states when they match up two powers against each other. So Georgia's got a little bit of bragging rights so far early in the season.
Yeah, most definitely. And just from the sideline perspective itself, you mentioned TJ Lester. I mean, he balled out against Buford. with a very strong defense. The question was, could he do it again? Facing a different style defense in American Heritage. They go down south, they deal with the humidity, and the young man did not disappoint. He actually exceeded expectations, in my opinion, compared to what he did against Buford, running the ball against American Heritage. And then Tristan Payne, you can't leave out Tristan Payne. Made a handful of large plays that were
Yeah.
big when needed. So shout out to Tristan. And then on the defense, a name that you hear over the intercom almost every single play, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I'll butcher it, but he's number 7, Hayden Truminia. I'm going to try. I think it's Truminia. Hayden Truminia, number 7. But the kid is an absolute stud. Every single play, he was on the ball. No questions asked. He was there. And then AJ Benton on the opposite side. I actually got a really cool shot of, them both gang tackling the running back from American Heritage, who I believe is a 4-star, right? So you got two guys who are unranked, just balling out on the defensive side. So a lot of fun to watch. Milton, they've got they now have a relatively smoother schedule for a little while, for the next couple of weeks. But then, it's Georgia. Anything's possible. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Shout out to Coach Rees and squad for starting 2-0 against two nationally ranked big time opponents. So let's go away from that. Now let's get to the Bishop Gorman St. Thomas game. Holy smokes. Look, it could have gone either way. You watched it on ESPN. What was your take? And then I'll give you mine.
Yeah, I thought it's crazy to think St. Thomas Aquinas, they're so young, but they got so many great playmakers. Julius Jones had a monster game. I think he went for 13 grabs, a buck 85, and a touchdown, had that long touchdown for the Raiders that put them up 21-10. And you're thinking, if you're an Aquinas fan, oh man, we're looking good. But I was impressed with Melvin Spicer the fourth. Coming into this year, the big question mark for me was, what was the quarterback play going to be like for Bishop Gorman? And he answered the call. He made some big time throws. That touchdown right off in the first quarter to Derek Meadows, absolute dime for 40-yard TD. And he just led them on big time drives in the second half. And then Gorman did what they do best, and that's run the rock. They went for 239 yards on the ground. And when they needed to make plays, they did. And the defense stepped up late. And but I was impressed. Both teams showed they're two of the better in the country. This was one of those rare times for me where St. Thomas Aquinas lost, but they still moved up in our national rankings from 11 to 9 because I ranked them a little too low to start the year. They showed me that they're definitely a top 10 team in the country, and they got some tough games on the schedule to close out the year, which I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. I think St. Thomas Aquinas is a team that's going to get better each week, and obviously Bishop Gorman, the defending Max Preps national champs, they're going to be right in the mix again this year if they can especially win that game on September 6th down in Santa Ana.
Yeah, I mean, Gorman, they came out, in all honesty, they looked a little soft, in my opinion. The gameplay just didn't seem like the normal, right? Or the norm that you're used to seeing, right? Normally they come out, they kind of punch you in the mouth right out the gate and just keep going and just never let off the gas. But St. Thomas Aquinas, like you said, very young core group of guys, but holy smokes, did they hold their own. I mean, the defense was sharp. There was a handful of guys, when I was going through the video clips, I'm trying to find out who they were. I was like, man, like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? So I'm looking at the roster. I'm like, man, like, this guy just had a game. Why does he have no offers? Why is only 100 people following him on Twitter? So these guys are going to make a name for himself. And like you said, as the season goes on, they're only going to get that much better. They're going to start to click more as a unit, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But they do have a very tough slate of games down there in South Florida. They got to get through Chaminade. They got to get through a couple other programs that are going to be very, very difficult. I mean, let's just keep it moving, right? We're going to go from this game and we're going to go to that Chaminade Bosco game because that was outrageous. That was a game. I think I said it last week. I went against the grain. I said I love Coach Negro and squad. I just felt deep down that Chaminade would come out with the win. I thought it was going to be close. It was close, but I was wrong. What did you see from your side?
Hey, this is a winnable game for obviously Chaminade and Bosco. I mean, it was a tight game going down the stretch, and then, Malik Blackwell Allen, a sophomore running back, popped one for 71 yards. That was the game-winning score. But I'm telling you, man, if you want to get Bosco, get them now, because this is a young team and they're just going to get better each week. I mean, they don't have that many seniors on this year's team, and they go out to Florida and beat a very talented Chaminade Madonna team, who's also very young too. But that's still an impressive performance for a young team like this to travel all the way from coast to coast and to pull this one out. And you got to give your flowers to Matai Fuiava, junior quarterback, went for over 300 yards passing, had 3 total touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing. Not bad for your first career start against a top 10 opponent. Daniel Odom, Carson Clark, and Madden Williams showed why they're one of the better receiving corps, not just in California, but in the entire country. And sophomore safety Isaiah Williava, this is a guy to remember. He made big time plays for the Bosco defense when they needed it most. He had that interception late in the fourth, and then he also had the pass breakup on the final play of the game for Chaminade Madonna as they're trying to extend the drive to tie things up, or eventually maybe go for 2 if they would have scored a touchdown. So impressed with Jason Negro's bunch. This team had some adversity in that game. It was a lot of penalties. I think there was another flag thrown just now on the field. I couldn't believe how many penalties were in this game. And, a lot of players cramping, so the game got extended even longer. But impressive win for St. John Bosco. It was a big week for the Trinity League down in SoCal. The only loss they had was Santa Margarita, losing to a very good Mission Viejo team. But outside of that, all Trinity League teams won.
Oh wow. Yeah, so just, again, from the sideline, let me set the stage pre-game. What you didn't see on ESPN. So after the Gorman game ends, they're clearing the stadium, of those fans to let the new fans come in. So we had a moment where the stands were pretty empty, to be honest. And I think it kind of looked that way to start the game on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. But you had Chaminade start to, they come out, they're warming up in the end zone underneath the scoreboard. And then out of nowhere, you've got Bosco coming at the same corner. And then it just all, pardon my language, all hell broke loose. I mean,
Yeah.
it was nuts. You heard some things come out of kids' mouths. They were talking some smack. They got fired up, and then the game got going. Bosco scores, and you're like, well, here we go, right? And then all of a sudden things kind of slowed down a little bit. There was a lot of penalties, like you said, and Chaminade, their receiving core is outrageous. I mean, they've got some of
Yeah.
the best receivers in the country, and we got to see my guy Kobe Howard, who just transferred in
Mhm.
from Western. He had a couple of, I'd say trickery plays, some end arounds. They were just utilizing him kind of as a weapon, just trying to find ways to get the ball in his hands because the young man's a playmaker. So when it came down to the final drive, I'm in the end zone, man. I'm like low key cheering for Bosco, but at the same time, I'm like, man, just put it in the air and give Kobe a chance. Like, they've not given it to him in the end zone that entire drive. And I'm thinking, now's the chance, now's the time. Put it in the air, give the guy a shot. That's what he's good at, man. That's what I watched him do last year at Western. That's what we've seen him do pretty much all year long. So I felt it was coming. We didn't get it. Bosco, squeaks away with a win. And like you said, they're only going to get better, man. They are young, but those dudes are talented. Quarterback play, man. Quarterback. Look, let me just kind of paint the picture on his mom. Shout out to his mom. She's probably the biggest mom fan that I've ever seen in the stands. She wasn't even really in the stands. She was in the corner of the end zone by herself, screaming at the top of her lungs every single play. It was awesome to see the passion, for her son, and then for him to deliver on the biggest stage, ESPN first real, start against the top 10, opponent.
Yeah. Hey,
It was fun.
he gave her a lot of reason to cheer, man. He balled out. He had a big time game, and that's impressive as a junior making your first start at a program like St. John Bosco. And on top of that, you're playing on ESPN2. He threw for over 300 yards. I also got to give a shout out to the quarterback on the other side, man. Tyler Chance had a big time game too. He threw for nearly 300 yards, had 3 touchdowns. I thought we were going to see him and Zack Katz, but Chance was playing so well, they didn't really give Katz an opportunity to get a chance to play because Tyler Chance was doing big time things. So you gotta tip your cap to the other quarterback on the team too. He had a very good game against a big time defense.
Yeah, it was a game that came down to the wire. Absolutely worth the price of admission. ESPN did right by coming to those 3 games, man. That was the way to really jumpstart this high school football season in the biggest way possible. Like you said, probably the biggest week in college, or not college, high school football. But it didn't stop there, right? We're going to circle back, and we got one more big matchup. We had the quarterback last week on the show. He said it was going to be a movie. It was going to be a show. Man,
Was.
oh man, did he put on a show? IMG, Corner Canyon, talk to me.
Dude, there were a lot of great games last week. That was the best game for me. And Hellerman Kasuga, he told us he was going to ball out. All he did was go 22 for 31 for 330 and 4 tutties. And Jerome Miles showed why he's a 5-star on 24/7 Sports. He went for 5 and a buck 25 and 3 touchdowns, but that one-handed grab he had to tie things up at 28-28, that was one of the better catches you're going to see all season. You got to give a shout out to Jackson Dart's little brother. He's a 2027 DB Diesel Dart. He had 10 tackles, but he made the biggest play of the game for me. It was 28-14 IMG with just under 7 minutes left in the third quarter. It's 4th and goal at the 8. IMG elects to go for the touchdown and not kick a field goal, and Diesel Dart comes up and makes a huge tackle. That kind of gave Corner Canyon a second win, some more momentum, and they sure took advantage of that. And then Brock Wright made the game-saving tackle on the 2-point conversion as IMG was trying to take the lead 36-35 with about 2 minutes left. So what a great game, though. And, this
What a
is why I
great
always
week.
tell people,
What a great
yeah,
week.
this was a great week. That's why I always tell people, man, play big games like this. Look at Corner Canyon. You see them all over social media now. They jump up
Oh,
into the top 10 on
everywhere.
just about every media poll, every one that does it except for SB Live. I don't know how they still have IMG ranked ahead of Corner Canyon. It makes no sense to me, but we won't get there. But what a performance by Eric Kerr. Play schools like IMG, because not only does it give you an opportunity to make a big jump in the national rankings, but everybody is talking about Corner Canyon. Even Pat McAfee was talking about it on his show. So
Yeah, and look, it's real when Pat talks about it because it,
yeah,
it then
right.
goes it then goes super viral. So look, we done recapped the remarkable week that we just had. We're gonna get to the big matchups coming up this week, but first, we're gonna bring on our first guest, man. It's somebody that we spoke very highly of. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and support this young man when we bring him on. So without further ado, let's bring on our first guest. All right. So as promised, we got our first guest on the screen. You might recognize the name. Hopefully you recognize the face. If you don't, you will very soon, because this is the one and only 2025 Milton High School out of Georgia running back, Mr. TJ Lester. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for jumping on. I know it was kind of last minute, so I appreciate you taking the time. Zack and I, man, we've been spicing you up after that Buford game, right? We saw what you
Yes,
did at
sir.
Buford. I witnessed it firsthand in person. I sat through the 2 hour plus rain delay during halftime. I came out and I said, look, I got to grab TJ at the end. And then, of course, your brother was like, let me find him. So shout out to your brother
Yeah.
for connecting us at the end of the game, man. But just walk us through your first 2 weeks, man. What's been working well? How did you, prepare this all season? Because look, last year you look good. This year you look great. And after talking to Coach Reeves, he said, you had a couple of nagging injuries here and there that kind of held you back a little bit. And now, man,
Mm,
you're green lit. You're opened up. You're running the rock like I've not seen in a little while. So talk to us.
sure. I've been working hard all off season. I did speed training, ran track, lifted hard, and I trained with my running back trainer named Markel Beckwith. So all that helped me prepare for this year.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
doing that in the off season, I was going to say, just what's how did that translate to that Buford game? Let's just start with the Buford game and walk us through that, because Buford came in, they're no pushover,
Mhm.
they're a big in-state powerhouse. You guys are defending champs. It's at your home field. They're kicking me off of their sideline, telling me, I got to shoot from the other sideline. So look, how did you manage to put up? I mean, realistically, you should have put up well over 200, but you had a couple of plays called back, right? That's
Yeah,
unfortunate, but they still look good on camera. I got those
yeah.
shots. But what worked well for you, man?
So we knew early in the game the run was going to work. First run I had, we started off a little slow, but second run was a 8-yard gain. ran counter behind Ethan Barbour. He was blocking good all night long for me. And so was the whole line. They led to a lot of my success that night.
Yeah, them old you look that old line, they deserve a pizza party or something. Boy,
Yeah.
they've been keeping Luke safe. They've been opening up the Great Wall of China for you and letting you just run wide. So what talk to us, Zach. What we spiced them up, but what do you got for TJ on that Buford game?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the Buford game, but just come back with a performance like you did, against American Heritage, one of the best programs, not just in Florida, but the entire country. And on top of all that, you do it on ESPN. Just talk about your performance, last week in that big 37-28 dub, going for $142 and a couple tutties.
So that game was we didn't know really what was going to work coming in, so we tried a little bit of everything. We ran the ball early. I think first or second run was like about 25 yards. So we knew that was going to work the whole night too. So, and again, it was my O-line, Ethan Barbour, Ryan G, all the big guys up front helped me succeed.
Yo, shout out to Ryan too. Ryan is a monster blocking tight end. Like that young man, he's a giant child. He's a very large guy, and he definitely knows how to open up the gap and clear the way for you, man. So shout out to Ryan, and then shout out to Ethan. Ethan, I mean, we just got in talking about Ethan in the game that he had. It was outrageous. But what else you got for TJ, Zach?
Yeah, hey, and obviously you're committed to Eastern Kentucky. Your dad's in the Hall of Fame there. What really, makes you want to go play there and kind of follow your dad's footsteps? He was one of the best players to ever come out of that program. What do you kind of envision going there when you get there next year?
Well, the place just feels like family, feels like home. Not just because my dad went there, but when I went to visit there up in September, the whole coaching staff was just loving, treated us just like family, and I want to be a part of that.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. So TJ, man, before we let you go, what goals do you have in place for the rest of the season, and ultimately, what can we expect to see from you in the Milton Eagles going forward?
You can expect to see from the Milton Eagles another state championship. That's been our goal, back to back. We want to make history, and my personal goals for this year is to get 1K plus rushing. I didn't get to get it last year because I was hurt, missed a couple games, so I only ended with like 744 yards. So I want to come back and reach my goal.
Look, man, if you're toting the rock like you toted week 1 and week 2,
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to give you a stretch assignment because I think you're going to hit that 1,200 plus this season. And that's me, and we're gonna stay linked throughout the season, man, because I got to follow what's going on. But go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, no, I just got to ask about your guys' team chemistry. I think that's what's kind of impressed me the most about watching you guys this year. You guys are all clicking. None of you guys have egos. Luke Nickel, big time leader, but you got a bunch of 4, 3 stars, 5-star players. What's it been like to kind of build that chemistry as you guys go week in and week out?
It's been great. We've been building chemistry since winter, spring, summer workouts, and we do a lot of team bonding stuff outside of that also. So our chemistry is really strong, and we just click all together.
Awesome, man. Yeah, look, the chemistry, the culture at Milton is second to none. Definitely a big time, program. And I know you're not Coach Reeves, but I know Coach Reeves is going to tap in. So, I let Coach Negro know, that you said he's got to get through, this week first. But that is a bucket list game, as we found out last week. Coach Negro would like to play Milton, in the Eagles' nest. So fingers crossed we can get that thing to happen. But, I just figured I'd throw that little jab out there. But TJ, man, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for joining us, man. Congratulations on a heck of a start to a season. 2 bangers to kick it off with, plenty more games to go. I think you're going to get that 1,200 plus, but keep grinding. Stay healthy. That's the key. Stay healthy and keep doing what you're doing, and we'll stay connected until next time. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so we just had TJ Lester on. We set the stage for what Milton has to come for the rest of the season. He thinks he's going to get 1,000. I think he's going to get 1,200 plus. Shout out to TJ Lester. Outstanding young man. Definitely outstanding young man. So let's get to this week's matchups. We got some bangers coming up, right? Let's get into this DeMatha Archbishop Spalding DMV. I'm going to be there live on Saturday. what do you got for this matchup? I think I think if Archbishop Spalding knocks off DeMatha in a comfortable fashion, kind of like they just did last week against an Ohio program that they probably shouldn't have beat like they did. We'll talk about that too. But if they knock off DeMatha in that fashion, there's a chance we could see them in that top 25 rankings. So TBD there. But what do you got on this game? DeMatha, Archbishop Spalding clash in the DMV.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is a chance for Spalding to show, hey, we're one of the top dogs in Maryland. We're right there with DeMatha, St. Francis Academy, and Good Counsel, and this is a perfect opportunity. I was shocked last week. I thought they would hang with Archbishop Hoban. Hoban's a premier program in the state of Ohio. They've been one of the best teams in that state for the last decade, and they dominated, man. That game was over by middle of the second quarter. So that was one of the most impressive wins for me last week. The thing with Spalding too, they got some studs. Malik Washington, 4-star Maryland commit. He had a big time game, and the guy we're going to be bringing on here shortly, Miles McCaffrey, aka Scrap. He went for 3 of those touchdowns. So Washington had 3 passing, 1 rushing. So this is a dynamic offense. They're going to be playing DeMatha, who a lot of people think is the best team in the WCAC this year. So we're going to find out who is one of the top programs in the state of Maryland. But yeah, impressive win last week for Spalding, beating Hoban like that, 28-14.
Yeah, I mean, DeMatha is definitely no pushover, but I think Spalding just has too many weapons that's going to be difficult for DeMatha to keep up with. And like you said, with Scrap being one of those weapons, the young man put up, 3 touchdowns in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, just an outrageous performance. The QB1, Malik, he's committed to where? Home state?
No, Maryland.
He's staying home, right? Coach Locks is locking a lot of these DMV young men and keeping them home. So to see that, it was a lot of fun. So let's just keep it popping and let's bring on our next guest because I think it only makes sense. So without further ado, let's bring him on. All right. So as promised, man, we just got done talking about this big DMV matchup between Archbishop Spalding and DeMatha this Saturday. We spiced up this young man. We talked him up. This is the young man, Myles Scrap. He is a 2027 wide receiver. I believe the rankings came out in 247's got you as a 4-star. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. And as a 4-star wide receiver, you put on a show this past week against a very, very difficult, well-coached Hoban team out of Ohio. So, where do we want to start, Zach? I'm going to let you kick this one off, Zach. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, just talk about the performance last week, man. He went for 3 touchdowns in the first half, had 7 grabs for over 100 yards in those 3 touchdowns. What was it like out there, and especially getting to play with a guy like Malik Washington?
It was good. My first game, it was nerve-wracking at first, but then I got into the groove of it. I knew all the off-season work I put in. I had confidence. All glory to God, and I knew I just had faith I would do good.
All right, so the off season. Let's kind of just circle back a little bit. What did the off season look like? What was the training regimen? 7-on-7. Who did you train with? And then ultimately, how is that going to transition? We saw a snapshot. Three touchdowns in the first half. But how's that going to transition the rest of the season? We got a big challenge ahead against DeMatha. So talk to me about what that off seasons look like.
Yeah, the off season, my best off season so far. Just been training a lot, working with my receiver trainer, DMAC. He based out of Maryland and DC. Just been working with him a lot, lifting weights, trying to get stronger and faster. And 7-on-7. I played with Torrey Smith, level 82. Went
There
to
you go.
OT7. We did decent, but we definitely can come back stronger. Then for the rest of the season, shoot, we just gotta see. I'm confident we gonna 3-peat. I'm confident.
Confident.
I gotta. Yeah, I'd be confident too if Malik Washington was my quarterback. What's it like getting to play with him? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He was, competing at the Elite 11 finals for a reason earlier this summer.
Nah, he definitely like that. Best QB in the nation for sure. He know how to play. He know how to place it on a dime, on the money every time.
So what is you guys' chemistry off the field, right? Are you guys hitting the field, practicing outside of practice, training outside of the norm, and just to work on that chemistry?
Of course, we gotta train after practice always. We gotta just build our chemistry because this is our first season together.
I can dig it.
How excited are you for DeMatha coming up this week? That's a big time game. DeMatha's been one of the best programs, not just in Maryland, but in the entire country.
Yeah, the math is definitely good. We just like come into it. We can't. I feel like we can't hype it up. It's gonna be hyped up, but I feel like we just gotta keep our composure and just play our game.
It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there on the sidelines, cameras in hand, so I can grab some still shots, some video clips, put out the full game highlights, all that fun stuff like I do. But I'm going to be joined, man. I'm going to have my guy Rock Steady with me. So Rock's going to join me. He's coming up. He's going to hit the game with me. And then I got a little earlier cap. I'm going to be at your old program, right? St. John's. I got St. John's against Roman Catholic. I think they kick off at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm going to shoot up to Spalding, meet Rock, catch you guys, see what you and Malik do in person, man. Because if you guys you do anything that you did last week against DeMatha, it's going to be outrageous and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, Scrap, man, we're going to let you get out of here. I know it's a school night. We definitely appreciate you jumping on, taking the time. Stay, safe, stay healthy, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you on Saturday, all right?
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Nah, man. No, go ahead, man. It's all you. You got the floor.
Yeah. It's not just me and Malik, it's the whole receiving core. Me, Weebay, Cam, and David. It's the whole receiving core. We like that. Best young receiving core in the nation.
Look. And this comes from a 2027, man. That's leadership at its best. The fact that
Yes, sir.
I'm literally about to let you go, and he was like, "Nah, man, I got one more thing. I got to give a shout out to the entire receiving corps because it's just not me, it's not Malik, it's all of us. So shout out to the Spalding entire receiving corps. I'll see you guys on Saturday. All right.
Peace.
Appreciate it. All right, so check it out. That was guest number 2. That is 2027 4-star wide receiver out of Archbishop Spalding in the DMV, specifically out of Maryland, Myles Scrap. So we done talked about that big game, but that's just one of many. So let's circle back. Let's go back to Thursday. We got a big game in Ocean City, New Jersey. We got Bergen Catholic against IMG Academy. IMG coming off a tough loss. We just talked about it. Bergen Catholic, man, they've got to be hyped right now. They got to be hyped knowing, hey, Corner Canyon just knocked these guys off. Why can't we? What's your take, Zach?
It could have the opposite effect too, man. It could be, man, we're IMG, we just lost. Now we're going to work even harder this week. We're going to be ready to go Thursday. I think this game is a toss-up. But the thing that I keep going back to is IMG Academy has never started a season 0-2. You got to go all the way back to their initial season in 2013, the last time they lost 2 games in a season. I think it's going to be tough for them to start the year 0-2. But hey, Bergen's got some ballers. Quincy Porter, 2025 Ohio State commit. He was our Max Preps New Jersey Player of the Year last season as a junior. Bergen's a program. They've only lost 2 games over the last 3 years. They've won 3 consecutive state titles. This is going to be a fun one on Thursday, Battle at the Beach. This is, during the NFL draft, Bill Belichick was talking about this game. So, it's a big-time matchup. I think IMG is going to bounce back and win this one, though. I think they're going to be hungry, and I think they're going to try and make a statement on Thursday.
So you've got IMG over Bergen. Pat McAfee talked about it. It went viral, right? When Belichick talked about it, he was telling Pat McAfee, if you're going to be anywhere, you need to be in Ocean City, New Jersey, on the 30th or 31st, whatever I think it's the 31st, right? 29th. Yeah. So the Battle of the Beach goes 29th through 31st. But you got to be in Ocean City, New Jersey. You got to see Bergen Catholic face IMG. This dude hyped up Bergen Catholic like he was the head coach. And then Pat McAfee even went as far as saying he would host his show live. So I was hoping that he would make that happen. Unfortunately, he's not. But it's definitely going to be a fun one to watch. It is live streamed on, I think, a local network through New Jersey, like D1 Sports Network or something. It better
be streamed somewhere, man, because I got to watch this game. So somebody better have it going. So
yeah, I'll shoot you over the info, but I believe it's on the Twitter page of the Battle of the Beach. So that's the headliner. I think there's like 4 games on Thursday, 5 on Friday, and 5 on Saturday. I think the entire state of New Jersey is playing at this event from the seams of it. But IMG, Bergen Catholic, they headline it. It's a banger. I'm going to go on a limb, and I think IMG is going 0-2. I've got a lot of guys. I got a lot of guys at IMG. I love him to death, but I don't know. I wasn't as impressed with what I've seen last week against a very tough Corner Canyon. But I just feel
Hey,
like Bergen Catholic is going to pull it out. It's going to be close, but I think they're going to win. That's my take.
so for our work, we pick all the top 10 games of the week. And last week, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because we were talking to Hellman and he kind of gave me that vibe. But I picked Corner Canyon last week. I was the only one, man, and
Oof.
they pulled it out. So we'll see how this week goes. But I would be shocked if IMG started 0-2. But you never know.
The schedule doesn't get a whole lot easier though. I mean, they got some games on there. So.
They got Coco next week, man, and Coco they put what 40
Brady
on the board
Hart?
last week. Yeah,
What?
so that's a tough 3-game stretch to start the year.
Yeah, man. So look, Brady Hart, I'm calling you out, man. We want you on the show
David
next week.
Boggs too. David
Let's
Boggs,
chat.
stud.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
that's a nasty quarterback wide receiver duo. We got to get both of them dudes on.
Yeah, man. So let's just keep it moving. Let's talk about that Corner Canyon that knocked off IMG. They got another big one this week against Lone Peak. Talk to me here.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I mean, this is obviously a nice in-state rivalry, but Lone Peak always plays Corner Canyon tough, and I expect the same on Friday. It's a road game. Corner Canyon's hyped after beating IMG last week, and Lone Peak, they can't wait, man. They were probably so happy Corner Canyon won that game so they can come in and steal that shine on Friday. But I don't know. Corner Canyon's just playing so great right now. That'd be tough. But the reason why Lone Peak's going to be in this game, and that's why Corner Canyon hung with IMG last week, is because they're great in the trenches, especially that offensive line that Corner Canyon has. They dominated a very good defensive line, a front seven that the Ascenders have, a bunch of 4, 3 stars, a couple of 5 stars. So this will be a fun game. I think it's going to be closer than people think, but I think Kasuga with that, a group of wide receivers is going to be too much for Lone Peak to handle. I expect Corner Canyon to, drop another 40 piece on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I was going to say I would definitely put my money on Corner Canyon in this one, and I think 40 plus is a very realistic number. So, but like you said, Lone Peak, they play tough. It's just like a modern day Bosco type environment. I mean, they play each other tough. It goes down to the wire, regardless of who's ranked where. So it's going to be fun to watch, and
I'll say this too. Lone Peak's had 2 quality wins to start the year. They beat Bingham, and then they beat a very good Timpview team that beat Skyridge, who finished as the 6A state runner-up last year. So a hot start for Lone Peak, and this is the top 2 teams in the state of Utah.
Yeah, so another fun one to watch. But let's take it out to Cali. Let's talk about
I can't wait for this one.
Look, we talked about Folsom last week. You hyped them up. They did exactly what you said they would. What do you got here?
Hey, San Mateo, or Sarah of San Mateo, this is a program who have been the best team in Northern California the last 3 years. They've represented Northern California in the CIF Open Division state title game every year since 2021. Shout out to Tom Brady, his alma mater, Lynn Swan, Barry Bonds. They've had the who's who, and they got a very young team this year. They lost a very talented 2024 class, but Coach Walsh will have his guys ready to go. Folsom, they want to prove they're the top dog in Northern California. Here's your opportunity on Friday night. And I don't know if you saw Ryder Lyons' touchdown run he had last week, but it was one of the best plays of all weekend. He pretty much ran through every defender Long Beach Poly had. And this dude, he reminds me so much of Caleb Williams. He just is so good at getting outside the pocket, extending plays. He's got a bunch of wide receivers to get the ball to. Jamison Powell, stud from 2026. Isaiah Williams shined last week too. Carter Jackson made some plays at running back. Folsom's a very, very well-balanced team, especially on offense. They got a very good defense too. So this is a prove-it game for Folsom, though. If they want to prove they're the top dog in Northern California, you get your opportunity at 7:30 p.m. on Friday. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's a prove-it game for me for Folsom. We're going to find out if they're for real.
And it's another fun one.
Yeah. Folsom too, by the way.
So I was going to say, I was getting to that. Do we have Folsom over?
Yeah.
Or okay, all right.
Yeah. So I'm rocking with Ryder Lyons, man. He's a baller. He's a 5-star in 2026 for a reason. So he's going to be one of the most sought after quarterbacks for sure.
Put on a show last week, looking to put on another show this week. It's like you said, their time to shine, their time to really put on it and prove, that they are those guys. So let's just keep it moving. Let's take it, I don't know, back to South Florida. Let's talk about Coach Teddy Bridgewater and the Miami Northwestern Bulls. Those dudes looked very good. I mean, they played Coconut Creek, right? Coconut Creek, obviously, talent-wise, I think was a little. It was solid, but I think overall it might have been a little lopsided based on some of the other matchups at the showcase. But Teddy Bridgewater, man, he had those those dudes out there real smooth. They were sharp. They were disciplined. It didn't get choppy. It was a lot of fun to watch. You had Flowers on the defensive side, just making plays all over the place. They had, receivers making just all kinds of plays. Number 7, I got to go back and look at his name. I should have been more prepared. I apologize, but still a little jet lag, man. Very long weekend. Nonetheless, he's the young man that caught the touchdown right in front of the camera that I posted as the reel on IG. He had a heck of a game, and I think he's a 26 if I'm not mistaken. So, shout out to Coach Teddy Bridgewater. What do you got for this game, though? They play a very difficult Venice squad. So talk to me.
Yeah, I'm already telling you, man. It's one game, and it was Coconut Creek. They won 45-0. No, they dominated. Northwestern's for real. Teddy Bridgewater has turned this team around, in my opinion, already, and he's coached one game. Calvin Russell, 2026 5-star. One of the top-rated wide receivers for a reason. They got a bunch of other dudes too. Nick Lanier, class of 2027. He's an absolute stud at receiver too. Antonio Branch Jr. And then, as you mentioned too, Javari Flowers. This team's loaded. They got playmakers. When it comes to skill position, dudes, Northwestern's right there with anybody, not just in Florida, but the entire country. And they're all young dudes. They're going to be playing again next year. So Northwestern, like Folsom, this is a game for them to get an opportunity to prove that they're back. Teddy Bridgewater, when he was the quarterback at Northwestern, one of the best teams, not just in Florida, obviously, but they're competing for national championships. So this is a fun game. Venice has got some ballers too. They put 63 on the board last week. Winston Watkins Jr. used to play at IMG. He went for, I think, like 10 grabs for $150 and 3 tutties last week. So, this is going to be a high scoring game, and it's going to be a matter of what defense can get the stops. But, Jam Rice Wilder was also back last week. He had a 3 touchdown performance for Venice. So this is a team that's got a lot of good playmakers, a lot of skill position guys in this one. But I think Northwestern's back, and I think the Bulls are going to be riding hot this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Teddy Bridgewater already wins a state title in his first year there.
Look, you took the words right from my mouth. Just one game sample size, the way that he has that team clicking, the culture was second to none. And then the crazy part was when they came off the bus and their coaching staff, their coaching staff was like 30 or 40 deep, it seemed like. And I was like, how many damn coaches do you have? And then, one of the coaches said, hey, man, we felt the need. We wanted to bring our JV coaches so that they can experience this. And I was like, man, like that's the culture you want. So shout out to Coach Teddy Bridgewater and the Northwestern Bulls. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like you said, you think they're back. I think Coach Teddy Bridgewater's he's catching that state title year one, especially with the amount of talent that he has and the way those dudes are playing. So shout out to Teddy. Shout out to the Bulls, man. But it's going to be fun. No disrespect to Venice because they could come out, right?
I wouldn't be shocked if Venice did win this game, but I don't know, man. I'm buying into the hype. I think Northwestern's back. I think they're going to be, competing for a state title this year. They're loaded, and they got a great coach who really believes in all these guys. You can just see it in all the pre-hype stuff before the game. This team, it just has a different swag about them than they've had in the last couple of years.
Oh, the swag was real. The swag was real. I don't know if you saw the shot, but they got the fire extinguishers popping off. Teddy's got the glasses on, like he's in South Beach when the sun's out. Like the swag was it was next level. They came out with the fresh Jordan jerseys. Everybody, look, they packed the stands. They brought the entire community from Miami up to Fort Lauderdale. So it's going to be fun to watch. Definitely buying into the hype. Definitely buying into Coach Teddy and what he's got going on. I'm just excited to see what they do the rest of the season. But our fun don't stop there. We're going to keep it moving, right? We got 2 more big games to talk about. And this one, we're going to take it to the great state of Georgia, another powerhouse, Carrollton and Rome. We got Juju leading Carrollton, putting on, a heck of a show week 1, week 2. What do we got in this one against a very, very difficult Rome program who seems to play Carrollton pretty well every year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Julian Lewis is trying to go 3-0 against Rome. He's beat them every time he's played against them in Rome. Obviously they had to cancel their season opener in the Corky Kell Classic against Creekside. They had the bus accident that occurred. Luckily, no serious injuries, and it looks like they're going to be ready to go this week. And Jaden Harmon, 2025 Alabama commit, one of the best linebackers in the country, he's going to want a piece of Julian Lewis. But man, Carrollton looked good last week. They won 35-7. Julian Lewis completed 20 of 26 for 274 and 4 touchdowns. Ryan Mosley showed why he's absolute dog at the wide receiver position. He went for 3 touchdowns, had over 100 yards receiving. Defense is flying around. They have a very talented secondary. So I think it's going to be a tough night for Rome on Friday, and I'd expect Carrollton to improve to 3-0. They just got so many playmakers for Juju to get the ball to in a very hungry defense. So it bodes well for both sides of the ball for the Trojans.
Yeah, I definitely can't disagree. I definitely think Carrollton's going to pull that out. I think he's going to hang 3 or 4 touchdowns again this week. Mosley's going to have another outstanding performance. So definitely fun to watch, but I think Carrollton just has too much juice, too much power for Rome this week. But Rome could be coming off of some momentum, right? Like you said, their first game was canceled, due to the bus accident. So they're coming out and they're fired up, right? They want to get this party rolling, and they want to show, hey, you know what? Like, we might have been in an accident. We might have had to cancel game 1, but we're still no pushover. We're not coming out here on crutches. We're coming out here with pads on, and we're ready to play ball. So it's gonna be a good one. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you a new perspective. Like you get in a bus accident, and you think, oh man, hope nothing bad's happening. So you just get a new perspective on life, and you're kind of, oh, cool. Now I get to just focus on football and just go have fun on a Friday night. So I'm looking forward to see how they do. Rome's always one of the best programs in Georgia. I'd expect them to hang with Carrollton early, but I think the Trojans will pull away late.
For sure, for sure. So let's take it to our last and final matchup for this week. We're gonna take it to Ohio. We got a big, big banger here, boy. We got St. Joe's Prep on Saturday, visiting St. Edward, which is, again, a powerhouse out of Ohio. What do you got here?
Yeah, I mean, these are two of the best programs in their respective states. St. Edward, they've won 3 consecutive Division I state titles. No other program in the state of Ohio has done that for a while. So impressive what they're doing. They've won 7 state titles since 2010. St. Joe's Prep, back-to-back 6A state champs. They've won 8 state titles since 2013, I believe. So St. Ed's looked good last week. They jumped back in the top 25. They won 28-0 against a pretty solid Pickerington North squad. And Brandon White, one of the better running backs in 2026, he had a good season opener. But St. Joe's Prep, this is a different animal. I would expect them to come out. I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I think the Hawks are going to find a way to win. Maxwell Roy, a 4-star 2025 Ohio State commit. They also got a running back committed to Ohio State, Isaiah West, Cam Smith, and Anthony Saka at linebacker. A couple more Power 4 guys. And then Charlie Folk, the 4th, takes over at quarterback. Looks like he's going to be the next guy. He's a sophomore. He's already landed some D1 offers. And they also got, I don't know if he's going to play, if at all, but Marvin Harrison Jr.'s little brother, obviously the son of Hall of Fame wide receiver Marvin Harrison, Jet Harrison. And according to Marvin Harrison Jr., he's already better than he was at that same age. So it'll be interesting to see if he touches the field at all. He's a class of 2028 wide receiver, but pretty good genes to have there in that Harrison family if you're a wide receiver.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely gonna be a lot of fun. Like you said, it's gonna be 2 powerhouse matchups, but St. Joe's Prep is just fully loaded, and I think they've got too much, for St. Edward. But who's to say,
Be a
right?
good
I mean,
game, man. I'm looking forward. It's Ohio football is always tough, gritty. So we'll
yep,
see if St. Ed can just make it ugly and find a way to win that one close. And it's also the season opener for the Hawks too. Sometimes you come out a little sloppy in the first game of the season. So
yep.
we'll see. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair, but I think St. Joe's Prep is going to find a way to pull out the dub.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be another fun one to watch. The exciting part is they're only going to get better as time goes on. I've got them later in the season in the DMV against Good Counsel, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get to that one later in the season, man. But look, for everybody, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We do this thing each and every Wednesday. We got special guests like we had tonight. We had running back from Milton High School, TJ Lester, who's been putting on a show. We had an outstanding young wide receiver, 2027 four-star Myles Scrap out of Archbishop Spalding in the DMV. Man, we touched on a lot of stuff tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens next week. We got a big weekend ahead. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss next week's show. Make sure you check out the sponsors I Empower, as well as the Great White Apparel. So greatwhite.shop. They've got some great premium apparel for you student athletes. And then more importantly, check out the 39 Hearts Foundation. It's the reason why Spotlight 39 exists. Every strong athlete needs a strong heart. Zach, any closing remarks before we close this thing out?
Another great week of action coming up, and then the following week we're gonna have number 1 versus number 2 in the country with Mater Dei and Gorman. So it just keeps getting better each and every week, man. I can't wait for the action this week, but I'm already looking forward to that 1 versus 2, man.
Yeah, that 1 versus 2. I think the popcorn's coming out. If you don't, I'm going to fire up the popcorn machine. I'm going to throw some popcorn graphics on the screen because it is going to be an absolute blockbuster. 1 versus 2, Mater Dei, Bishop Gorman, both teams coming off a bye week, right? So both teams have time to rest up, get ready, get that game plan locked in. So make sure you tap in next week. Till next time, I'm Rob Odie. That's Zach Poff. Max Preps, Spotlight 39. I appreciate you.